Hello and welcome back to a brand new Fake Nerds Watch, where we are talking about maybe the surprise hit show of the year in terms of just like what we went in anticipating and what we are getting out of it. There's a lot of great stuff this last year. I'm not gonna lie, because we are officially in 2024 now.
Yes.
But in 2023 there were a lot of things, but I gotta say, Monarch's just like continuing to surprise me. So we are back to see if the real May will please stand up, or it is her birthright. We are here talking about episodes 7 and 8 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I am Sparkz. I am, of course, joined by Ryan Eliopoulos.
Screonk, everybody.
And our good friend Ben Magnet is back with us for this show.
It's me. I'm back to Willow Root. And I was going to do an Eminem thing. Was like, nah, can't do it. I don't have his flow.
May already did it. It's okay.
Yeah, she did. She already did.
So we will be talking about episode 7, Will the Real May Please Stand Up, which is directed by Hiromi Kamada and written by Mariko Tamaki.
Woo!
And then we will be talking about episode 8, Birthright, which is also directed by Hiromi Kamada and written by Al Letson. All right, so let's get into some broad thoughts, guys. How we feeling? Monarch 7 and 8. We're almost to the end.
Can you believe it? The show's still good.
Oh, the show is still really, really good. Oddly enough, after I was finished watching these episodes, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say, and that's not a bad thing.
Sure.
I feel it's mostly because there was a lot of stuff that happened, but it wasn't. I don't know if it wasn't as like, oh my god, as it was in the previous episodes. I mean, there were some big moments, especially in episode 9. And of course, we found out.
We haven't watched episode 9 yet.
Do you mean 8?
What are you watching?
Yep, that's what I meant. Episode 8. My bad. There was a decent reveal about a certain character in episode 8, but also we got the really good backstory in episode 7. And this still is just a very compelling television show where, once again, even though not a lot of stuff happened, because at the end of episode 6, when Godzilla rises from the sand, I'm just like, yay! And even now, I'm just like, all the mysteries.
Yeah,
I want to know.
For sure.
But I'm still absolutely in love with the show. This show is fantastic. I agree. This is a surprise hit of 2023.
Yeah. I won't disagree with you on the quality of the show. The quality of the show is great, but I think plenty of cool things happened. First of all, we get a direct tie-in to King of the Monsters.
You mean
what's this one?
Godzilla vs. Kong?
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. That's what it is. Yeah. I don't know. They're all, hey, it's a Godzilla movie, whatever. There's a direct reference to
Apex, right?
Movie. Huh?
Apex?
Yeah. We thought, like, we conjectured, like, hey, they probably won't do anything with the future movies yet, but like they clearly are, which is really fun. And I think the turn, or not turn, depending on how you look at it, of Lee Shaw himself seemingly becoming kind of a villain is really intriguing and really enticing. And I think we have a lot to dive in with his motivations and what he's thinking about, which ties into the past stuff, all the stuff with Keiko and her past, and the stuff with Bill. It's just like, the show is a big surprise. Like we're getting closer to the end, and I'm like, oh no, we're almost here.
I really hope we get that season 2.
I feel it in my bones.
Mm-hmm.
I will chime in and say that, like, yes, I also agree. I think that the quality of the show continues. Like, I do not feel like there has been a bad episode in the bunch.
Yeah.
This was maybe the one going into it I was most nervous about, was episode 7. Going back to our conversation last time, I said, like, I'm really curious how they make, like, anything they reveal about May feel like it's relevant to the grander Monsterverse, and not just something that's like, yeah, okay, that's like an important thing for May, but how does that matter to the... And boy, did they find the way.
Yeah.
Which was really, really satisfying.
Life finds a
so I'm super excited to get into it. Let's jump in on episode 7. I also continue to be impressed with, like, the way they use what flashbacks they use, and that we are not always getting a Wyatt Russell older period flashback every episode.
Yeah.
They're really selective with how they dole those out. And I think that pacing is still working.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to talk about how we opened episode 7 with our absolute boss man, Tim, rising out of the dirt, rising out of the sand. He will not be defeated.
Oh yeah, dude. We watch enough TV. You don't see a body. That dude ain't dead. But like to start the episode with, this man's covered in sand and he's the only survivor. I'm like, hell yeah, boy. The way he chugs those waters, he drinks like 4 waters.
Yeah.
They are like this big, so I get it. But he's like, I don't want to talk to you guys.
He paid like $30 for
100%. People are trying to talk to him, and he's just like, hold on a second, I need to hydrate.
Yeah.
He's a funny man. I love him.
I also really like, they didn't go as hard or full on this as I thought, but the way that they open the shot with him is very much like at first you're like, what's rising out of the dirt? Was there something else with Godzilla? And it's like, it's just Tim.
It's just him. The only non-soldier in the group, and he's the one who survived. I'm like, well, of course. Good for you, Tim.
This is definitely the episode where I definitely turned on Tim, as in like not turned against him, because most of the show I'm like, what is this guy's deal? I don't know if he's a good guy or bad guy or what. Now, like episode 7 and 8 combined, I was like, oh nah, Tim's cool. We like him. Tim's rad.
He's goofy as hell too. I love him.
Yeah, it's really gotten interesting between Tim, between Shaw, between our other characters, the deputy director,
Verdugo,
the French
Michelle,
thank you. Between these different perspectives, like it's hard to tell who exactly is doing something for the wrong reasons or doing a wrong thing for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
And that's gotten really complex in like a way where I'm like, I don't actually know who's the bad person here.
Yeah, at this point, especially in the future, because like you can kind of tell, like, oh, like the military or like,
In the past, it's very clear.
In the present, it's just like everybody's doing different things for different reasons, and I'm not sure who's right. And that is like really fascinating to watch.
It's not clear if anybody is wrong.
Yeah.
Necessarily. What I will say is that I don't think there's anybody in the group who is as jaded as some of our characters in King of the Monsters, right? Where they're like, I don't care about it feels like everybody is there trying to save human lives. Yeah. They just disagree about how to do it.
Some just care about the monsters more than the others.
Right. Yeah, that's what it really feels like. That, and I feel like 7 and 8, especially 7, really complicated that by like Tim getting more information around Tim and Shaw specifically has pulled back layers where it's like, well, I agree with a lot of what Tim said there.
Yeah.
But I also agree with a lot of what Shaw said. So like, I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yeah. The kind of like the moral ambiguity of everybody, and like, you're not sure whose side to be on. Cause like, there isn't just an outright like bad guy. Well, I mean, like in 7, we get AET, who are like a technology group.
Oh, sure.
They see,
I'm talking within Monarch.
Yeah. But like, that's like a side character. Like that's like a side piece. So like, it's really cool that like all these characters have so much depth, and it's like, I'm not sure whose side you want me to be on. And that's like really fun to watch.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, Ben, before I jump into another point?
I do say that Shaw's turn, or his quote unquote, I would say he's more antagonistic turn, because I do feel like he is doing the right thing. Like he's sealing up these portals where the Titans are, because he lost Keiko into one of them, and he saw that there is something down there. He claims to have been to one, which is something out of episode 8, but still, it's something that's like, because we know, thanks to King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, that there is a Hollow Earth. That's the realm of the monsters, and Godzilla's like, I rule above, you rule below. We good. You stay on my turf.
Yeah, don't go on my turf. Exactly.
Yeah, like when he I know it's at the end of episode 8, but still, it's a really good dialogue when he talks to Kane. Says, you saw in his eyes, you know he's not a mindless monster. You know he's here for good reason. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. Because one of the things I do like about the Monsterverse version of Godzilla is that he isn't just like stomping on everything just because, oh, it's in my way, I need to go that way. He, keeps the balance. And when things mess up, he's there to like, hey, set him straight.
Yeah.
But it does kind of hurt a little bit, because I really like Kurt Russell as Old Shaw. And it's like, I know you've been through some shit, my guy, and you're back in the saddle, but see you do stuff, it's like, no, go back to being the kooky uncle, please.
Yeah, it's
I don't want you to be a bad guy.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because, again, like, I don't think he's a bad guy. He's just, I think, going about it the wrong way. Like, he's taking over military bases, like, by force. But that's because, like, I think it's the only way he thinks he can do this. It's like, I'm not going to get the support I need, but I have the people to help me to take over somewhere I can take over a Monarch base and get my shit done. And that is, like, technically an antagonistic thing to do, but...
And he did give Verdugo the opportunity to, like...
Yeah.
Let him... share knowledge and work on something, and
share the load.
He just disagreed and wanted to black box him again.
Yeah,
And so I understand why he's taking the stance he is. I think my big question is, I don't know if Shaw really knows what the rest of these people who are running with him want.
Yeah.
This is the thing. There may be my biggest question mark is Michelle and the rest. I'm like, do you want the same things that Shaw wants? Because I'm not entirely convinced that they think Godzilla is fine.
Yeah, I think we need more information, but it definitely seems like Michelle is on the side of Shaw. But like, there's a lot of people with them, so like,
right. That's the thing I'm wondering is I'm like, what do they believe about what Monarch's doing? Because I don't think that's necessarily a 1-to-1 with Shaw.
Yeah.
I really hope it turns out that obviously because Shaw knows we can't kill Godzilla. He's like, hey, I was there. He took an H-bomb to the face. Yeah, it was a 1945 H-bomb or it was a 1955 H-bomb, but it was still a damn H-bomb. He took
that's a
really powerful bomb.
Yeah, he took that to the face and it's fine. So he knows he can't kill Godzilla. So what I kind of hope is that maybe not some sort of like anime portrayal with Michelle or any of the other people, but some of the other people realize it's like, no, we joined you because we want to kill these things. We need to destroy these things. And Sean's like, no, I'm not here to murder them. I'm here to like, just like let them be. Just like make sure they can't get to us. Because if they get to us, then they have to fight him. And when they fight him being Godzilla, then other stuff gets destroyed. And that's what I'm trying to stop.
Yeah, because we speculated before these episodes, like, does he like want to help Godzilla? Does he want to hurt Godzilla? Like, it seems he's helping Godzilla by like shutting the doors, so like Godzilla never needs to fight again.
Right.
Like he's like, like he's the guy in the corner, like rubbing his shoulders, like, don't worry, Godzilla, I got your back. Like, but doing that, it's every time he closes a hole, it appears that the radiation spike in the world like goes up, and like it appears like another G-Day will happen.
More bleeds out of every other hole.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I don't think Shaw. I know Shaw knows what he's doing. I don't think he knows the ramifications of what he's doing.
The weird thing is, I don't think they've necessarily like explained how the radiation stuff that's coming out of the Earth ties into what happened in G-Day Godzilla 2014.
Yeah.
Because like, are they just saying like that'll charge up another monster like it charged up the Muto? Because that's one thing, but like we don't see how those radiation effects happen in G-Day. So I'm waiting for someone to kind of explain like these events are the same as G-Day, and I'm like, okay, but just tell me the how, because clearly it's something we didn't see in the movie.
I mean, they must explain it, but like I don't know if they'll do it in the next episode because like spoiler, like
I think there's a very clear like just it should be the thing that they don't know what woke up the other Muto. Right, there's the one that's in Japan that we see that Bryan Cranston's at and everything.
Yeah.
In the movie, they don't know why the other one woke up.
Okay.
That it was signaling with. They had no idea, right? That at least like Ken Watanabe's character, whose name
Serizawa.
Thank you, Serizawa.
Yeah.
Serizawa has no idea why the other one woke up at that point in the film. Like that's the information we have.
Okay.
No clue. They thought that one wasn't there. Wasn't alive anymore.
Yeah.
And it's awake.
I'm wide awake.
So they could explain that like, it's this radiation whole thing fed that Muto. That's why that Muto activated again and did blah 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 blah. And I'd accept that. I'm like, that's enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just questioning like, what do G-Day as like an event where Godzilla had a showdown with the two Mutos doesn't necessarily tie into the radiation coming out of these holes to me on a surface level, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Going back to Shaw, going back to episode 7, like focusing in on that, the thing that really set both of us off is like the moment Shaw and his team get to Outpost 88, they got some hard villain music going on. With their guns coming in and everything.
The music shifts and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm watching a villain moment right now. And he does walk in like kind of, like you said, then like antagonistic. Like he's not a villain, but he walks in, he's like, what's up, guys? I'm taking this place over. You can join me or you can get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, how am I supposed to feel right now? Oh no, you've been just a fun
Barnes. Barnes is like, they got guns, they got some crazy. I'm just gonna go to a gas station and hide. That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
it was a good turn. Like it was like a really effective. Like, oh, do we not know this guy as well as we think we do?
It definitely like cues you in as an audience to go, Shaw might be the bad guy. Like the music is doing it. Like nothing. Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of guys with guns coming in, but it's not like anybody's shooting anybody.
No,
like, and it is the music shift around Shaw that's making you go, oh, is he Charles Dance?
Yeah.
Is he the Batman? It's really interesting. And then like I feel like that gets further complicated the more we watch in these two episodes.
Yeah.
Tim, teaming up with the trio. I really like teaming up in this case with Kate and Kentaro to go get May.
Yeah.
I really like. I like his whole bit where he goes with them to May's family's house, and he's like, "We know each other through being manga fans.
Yeah, we're in
all the things.
We're in an anime club."
And the sister's trying to test him, and he throws out all the names, and he's like a big fan of Akira Toriyama. And I was like, "Hell yeah, somebody loves Dragon Ball on this show."
Yeah. That was really funny because obviously Kate doesn't know shit about manga. Yeah. So like she's
just covering it all. Yeah.
She's stuttering her way to think of something. He's like, "Yo, I got this because I actually am a nerd."
Yeah.
I got you. Big shonen jump fan over here.
Yeah. What kind of manga does she like? All the classic shonens.
Yeah.
Well, he said shoujo.
Shoujo. That's true. You're right. You're right. He went full blown. He was playing that cover, and it does look like for a moment it dissuades the sister where she's like, "Oh, maybe this is real."
Yeah. That sister seems smart though. She is.
Yeah. She's sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. She seems like it's fine. She seemed like the only one taking it really seriously. Like the mom didn't question. It's a weird, like, I don't really know what good that angle did them. I know they were trying to get information about like who would be after May and that kind of thing. Yeah. But like, even at their attempt of like, oh yeah, we like cross paths in Japan kind of thing. I'm like, y'all, this is a terrible cover.
It is a terrible cover, but like,
but they didn't know how deep the shit she was in.
Yeah, and like I don't like you got two young Japanese folks and then an old white man. Like, I don't know what story you could tell that's like, why are we here and we're from Japan?
I think they frankly should have just gone in without Tim. I think Tim throws off the vibe.
No, you're right. I
think if the two had just gone in and like tried to play off a story of how like they knew her and like met her in Japan and all that stuff, like, I think that anybody would have bought that on the face. It's how young they are and they're both there. Yeah. And then there's Tim. I think Tim ruins it.
Tim didn't want to wait in the car.
Also, no offense, but like, why should they trust a white man who looks like the man coming in, especially when they're afraid of the company and everything?
That was collared shirt and tie, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like Tim looks like the kind of guy who would pull you into the back of a car and put a bag over your head. So
that's so true. He loves it. He loves it too.
He's done it.
Yeah.
So I feel like taking Tim in was maybe not a good move.
That's true. The sister, like at the same time as everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna go and run errands or whatever, and then they follow her, and then she stops in a garage park. And then she immediately busts them like, y'all are bad at this. She doesn't say that, but it's like, this is so dumb. I knew you guys were up to something and you followed me. And she calls them out and they talk about it. And it's like, that's really fun. That was a really fun scene. I like that.
Yeah. Tim is fully aware of now Hiroshi being on the table and everything. He believes that he's trying to prevent the next G-Day, which is now what he wants. Like, that's becoming part of Tim's mission. Tim didn't really have that as a mission. It seemed like he was just like suspecting something big was going on, but he didn't have the picture. Now he has the picture. His mission is, I also want to prevent the next G-Day. So like, we know what Tim wants.
Yeah.
That feels, and I think this is the first time we have full clarity, because it has been like Tim chasing the ambitions of others and not being clear what that was for. Tim lays it all out here that he's like, I believe your dad is trying to prevent the next G-Day and I want to help.
And he like we learned more that like they knew each other and like he looked up to his dad and like he was like a brilliant man. Like he loved his son.
He's a Randa fanatic.
He's a Randa fanatic, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as much as the Shoujo. Bibu.
And I love that for him. I think it's really cool the way that they're coming in. When he's there at the beginning, Monarch is offering him no resources.
Yeah.
When he's out there to try and get May back. Verdugo's like, no, can't give you anything.
Sorry, Charlie.
Which would lead to Tim pulling that baller move of pulling the fake alarm on the city.
Oh yeah. God.
What a thing to do.
Dude, somebody owed Tim a favor and he's like, yo, I need you to pull the Godzilla alarm.
Yeah.
Somebody got fired that day, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he had access.
I
think he just had access to the system and he pulled it. He probably doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why when the car Verdugo was like, really? You activated the Titan alarm? He's like, well, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We should talk about May because this is kind of her episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned that in the past why she's been running away is because she got hired by this big wig experimental tech firm. And she found out they were doing some super shady shit. So she basically shut them down. Like she's like an expert coder.
She did it because she was mad initially. Like she's digging in their stuff because she's angry because she felt like she was being admired and courted for her talent and her genius ability essentially, and she's relegated to like low level
like desk work
where she's like, this is not what I came here to do.
She's working next to a Candy Crush guy, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Like you're all on the same level. I'm like, oh, that's not what you promised me.
Right.
Over wine.
So she hacks into the system and she finds out about a lot of their experimentation and stuff going on with a cyber neural link.
The second they said that,
the moment they said it, I was like, all right,
it's mecha time.
All right, guys, are we doing it? Are we building? But also at that time I was looking up, like, because we have the AET name, and I was looking that up while we were watching the show, and I'm like, no, that's not it.
No,
that's not in Godzilla versus Kong or anything.
But we get that. We get a payoff.
But we get Apex at the end, and I was like, oh shit, that's it. That's it.
That's some good world building, baby. That's not even the next movie. That's the next movie. That's great.
Yeah. I actually completely forgot about Apex, to be perfectly honest with you. So when they're they're doing like the neural thing, I was like, that doesn't have to anything to. I was like so confused. I was like, does that have something to do with King Ghidorah's skull and Mechagodzilla?
Oh, sure. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And then when they changed the logo, it's like, why does that sound so familiar? It must be from Godzilla vs. Kong. I'll have to like talk to the guys, but you guys, because I was like, there was no mention of Apex in King of the Monsters. There was no mention of it in Kong Skull Island, so it had to be GVK.
Yeah. And like they could have like, I appreciate just how like unsubtle it is, because like they never had to say Apex. And like they put into our brains, okay, this might be from Godzilla, but like it's ambiguous. But at the end, she's like, your company merged with my company. It's now Apex. And I'm like, sons of bitches. This is just a comic book. Oh, episode 7 is written by Mariko Tamaki, who is a comic book writer. So I'm like, no, this just feels good. Look good. Feel good.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's a great point. I just wanted to pull like this is Walter Simmons, who is the guy who's heading the Mechagodzilla project, essentially, when we see Apex in the film.
Okay.
When we started Apex Cybernetics, we dreamt of new ways to push past the limits of human potential: robotics, the human mind, artificial intelligence.
Yep.
It's my privilege to lead Apex into humanity's bold new era. We're not going anywhere, and neither are you. And so like they reveal their intention is like at that point where we know they're heading, they want to control the Titans. Mechagodzilla is a thing on the path to, that's what they want to do. How do we solve the Titan problem? We own them.
We put computers in their brains.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm so excited that they're doing this kind of world building. It was such a good way to tie in what May was a part of and what she did.
Yes.
With the larger Monsterverse. It made it feel super great, super impactful to have it like actually connect the tissue. Not only that, but to make the returning of May the thing that gets Monarch involved with Apex.
Yeah.
Why AET even has access to Titan information that allows them to build Mechagodzilla, which feels so much better than just like between King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. They figured out how to make Mechagodzilla
real fast.
Knowing that it started in 2015.
Yeah.
Feels a lot better.
Yeah, that's the type of interconnected like universe stuff that you want. That like it feels natural. You know, they're not. I don't feel like it was just thrown in just to throw it in. Like it feels. Oh yeah, man, it's part of the story.
Yeah,
it's exactly.
It's very organic, is what it is.
Yeah. This is honestly the kind of thing that we really haven't gotten out of any of the MCU anything. I would argue outside of kind of Captain Marvel, but honestly, like everything else, nothing has done the kind of like, we're going to like, and even then it's just, where did the name Avengers come from?
Yeah.
In this, we are getting like a clear, hey, here's a detail, like this is Clone Wars level stuff where here's a detail that came up in the movie. We're going to backtrack and work on like, this is how Order 66 was tested on clones.
Yeah.
Like this is how Apex gets up to building Mechagodzilla. It's so smart to lay the groundwork. Like they're doing such a good job in the show, and that they're thinking about the path of these, frankly, lesser story driven things that are ahead, and finding ways to build up to them in a way that feels satisfying and fills out the world is so cool. I really like what they're doing with what they have the opportunity for.
Clearly May and Kate, they're starting to hey,
oh my lord, it couldn't have been more blatant at the end of that episode with Kate wrapping her arms around her and Kentaro just being like,
oh my god,
bro, what just happened here?
That poor guy.
The more I watch the show, the more I like how Kate and Kentaro's attitude swapped. Beginning of the show, Kentaro was all about, we gotta find Dad, we gotta find out what's going on. Kate's like, I don't care, I just found out he had a secret family, this is messed up, blah blah blah. And now going through it, Kate's the one who's like, let's go, we gotta find Dad, he was there. And Kentaro's like, I just don't care anymore, dude.
Right.
Like, he is so winded. He is now just like, he is so exhausted.
Yeah.
And he does not want anything to do with this anymore. He's like, just put me on a pod to first class so I can go home.
They keep talking about pods. I've never seen a pod. I've never seen a first class pod.
Neither have I.
To your point, Ben, I think like they've done a really good job of like, we know so much more about before May like gets there in the beginning, like before she goes to Japan, she was very depressed and pretty much like didn't care about anything going on in her life or her world. And Kentaro was fairly motivated about his life, his art, his relationships. Just the absence of his dad was the only thing that was really bothering him. And so like you have Kate coming in and kind of like ruining what little amount of idolization Kentaro has for his father.
Yeah.
And his world just keeps getting further upended while Kate's gets more interesting.
Yeah.
And in a way that he wants to engage with it. So like that full switch, you're right, is like totally happening where like Kentaro's being pushed further and further into this depressing place. And I think the sad thing is that we're seeing it and Kate isn't.
Yeah.
Like Kate's not helping Kentaro through it.
No. She is all aboard the let's go find Dad. He's probably trying to do something with Godzilla. She gives a shit now, because before she's like, no, get me out of here, I want off this ride. And she is like all for it, ready to go to the ends of the earth to not only find her dad, but to find her dad. If Godzilla just happens to be there, oh well.
Yeah, she's made a really interesting, like, I'm really interested in the fact that in these last two episodes we have a Kate who's really pivoted on how she feels about Godzilla.
Yeah.
Once she saw him see her, it's really changed how she thinks about him. Because she's been carrying that PTSD, like whether or not she fully blamed Godzilla for, the deaths that happened around her, or just like recognize it as like a casualty of him being huge. She's now far more willing to engage with Godzilla being some kind of sentient.
Yeah.
And that meaning something to her,
which is
really, really interesting.
Big, beautiful eyes. Godzilla. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Verdugo gets prompted up to be CEO of Monarch. That's how she's presented to the world.
Yeah.
Because Tim talks her into doing a press release for Monarch to come out of the shadows.
Yeah.
And be very public and upfront.
I think that is both a great idea from Tim and just for the organization in general, because like people know big monsters exist now, whether it's just Godzilla or the future when there's a bunch of them. Like you should know that the like some type of government agency is out to help against these things.
Well, and it's interesting, and I hadn't even thought about this whole time that the public didn't know about Monarch at large, like a little bit, but I hadn't considered it as like an issue.
Yeah,
because like obviously you had Kate and Kentaro and all of them talking about like this symbol they don't recognize and everything, so it's like, okay, so they don't have like full blown public knowledge of Monarch. But I think of it as kind of a to Tim's point, a little less of a big deal, because it's like you have an alarm system.
Yeah.
Like you've built all these things. You have helped build these things, whether or not they had the full resources that did it. They've certainly been a part of like establishing it and making it happen. And so it's like, why aren't you public? Like, why aren't you public facing to ease people's fears and tensions?
And she gives a great speech. That is like true, but also like she's really putting on a face. She's like, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm all these things.
She's talking like a CEO.
She's talking like a CEO, yeah. And she's definitely it's a pretty good speech, and I think like she's able to just from the public be like, no, like the public is like, oh, it's nice to know that there's people looking out for us, because like I think that is important for the world.
Which is really interesting, because she was deputy director, and now we're for the public labeling her CEO.
Yeah.
Which is all like CEO is interesting, because deputy director sounds more like head of a federal organization.
It could just be
CEO sounds like head of a business.
Yeah. It could be it could just be like a front, like she's called the CEO, but she's still that's for the public.
I'm wondering that. Yeah. I don't think like I don't actually think her role has changed.
No, she didn't get like a promotion.
Yeah, or anything like that. I'm just really intrigued by the fact that like Monarch feels like it's being presented as business rather than department.
Well, I can only imagine now that it is public that like the like other organizations are probably going to want to get in on this. So like you need somebody who can do those business transactions, if anything. Like again with Apex and stuff. So like it's gonna be interesting future.
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah.
Ryan, I'm trying to think. There was something you were talking about that sparked the thing, but yeah, I lost it. Dang it.
I'm Sparkz.
He's Sparkz.
I know. You were talking about it. I was like, oh, that might be a good thing, but I lost the thought.
No, this is was it about? So it wasn't about Verdugo and getting promoted and all that. It was before that.
No, it was a comment on. I remember now. The comment was like after G-Day, after Godzilla 2014. Why not just straight up come out? Like the entire world saw Godzilla fight in San Francisco, but before that, Amuto thrashed Vegas. Godzilla came out of the water and thrashed Honolulu International Airport. Like he flooded Oahu, essentially. So the second that showed up, it's like maybe I don't know, listen. Maybe like it was like one of those things where Monarch should have been out, like way out of the shadows. It's like, hi, we've known these dudes were around and we're trying to stop them from stomping on our stuff, but it's not going so well.
That's God bless America.
That's an important detail though, right, Ben? They don't admit that they know, like she's being careful. They don't admit that they know there are more.
Yeah.
True.
They don't admit that how long they've known there are more. Because I think that's also an important detail that they're still keeping away from the public. Is like we, to the world's eyes, I think they want it to continue to seem that Godzilla happened, and about a year later, we formed Monarch to respond to Titans, rather than we knew for about 60 years that this was going to come.
It feels like a response instead of like they don't want it to be like, oh, we've been in hiding for 60 years. Like, oh no, this cause come out of Godzilla, and we're here to help out.
Right.
Yeah.
Super interesting. So she has to give more than she gets, obviously, with Verdugo, because all she gets is May. And May's totally free of all her obligations to Apex, but like as they point out, it's like, I don't know what that cost them.
Yeah.
It must have been something, because they don't like me. They dropped everything against me. So like I kind of owe it to them, but like I don't know what they gave up. And I have to assume what they gave up is all their information on Titans, just all of it.
Yeah. Because I definitely with the rebranding or even renaming, it seems like they got like it's like a new company now.
I think they're forming like a separate company
like a joint.
Yeah. Apex is like a joint operation. Where I think they're going to get information from Monarch and then probably run away from Monarch's control, because we know by the time of Godzilla vs. Kong, they're kind of a rival entity.
Oh, sure.
Where people are seeking out their Titan tech and their Titan knowledge against Monarchs. So that's something
they're basically using Monarch until they don't need to anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the name like Apex, you seem like a bunch of bad guys. I'm just saying.
It's really interesting how they're filling out this particular part of the history of how that connection happens, how Monarch becomes public, all that kind of stuff, and what people didn't know. I'll say when we were first getting introduced to AET, the way I thought before Cyber Neuralink came up, and it was like a technology group, I thought we were going to learn about like they're the group that's building those safe homes that are really expensive that we heard about, the Titan safe homes. And that there was going to be something scummy about that.
The bunkers.
That's what I was prepared for. And I'm like, that would be enough. That'd be enough for me. But I like this way better that we're getting all this set up for the mecha monster that is Mechagodzilla.
Yeah. The only thing I need, which like this show, like, it could surprise me again. Like, get me Serizawa's son in here, please.
I doubt it's the season.
Even if it's, hey, I didn't think we would get this. It's definitely not going to be this season, but like, that is the one thing from that movie where I'm like, why are we not focusing on one of our main characters' children who's evil, who's part of this Mechagodzilla thing? So like,
I see almost no way where if we get more seasons, we don't see some more familiar faces.
Yeah.
Whether that's Serizawa or Sally Hawkins or
Vera Farmiga
or Bradley Whitford or Serizawa's son, like anybody who will help fill out what Monarch was building up to and all of that.
Yeah.
Like it'd be lovely to see any of them. Raymond Chandler. Give me anybody. Oh God, what's the comedian's name who's in King of the Monsters who keeps eluding me?
the comedian in King of the Monsters?
Yeah. I'll look it up.
I don't remember.
Because he's a side character who I've said is only in King of the Monsters.
Oh, Thomas Middleditch?
Yes, thank you. Thomas Middleditch.
There you go.
Yeah, he's just kind of president. He's like a Godzilla fan too.
Yeah.
And I want him to show up, or we said it a while back, but if we could get the older version of our young Black analyst friend.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, he can come back.
If we could get him back, because we already have the actor playing his older version in King of the Monsters. If you want to bring him back, I'm all for it.
That's true.
Because that's also got like the Randa ties and stuff, so you could do a lot with that. Because he's the guy who's championing the Hollow Earth theory after Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's coming out of there and saying like Randa was right. And pushing them towards that. So like you could definitely tie that guy in.
And they
definitely
like going off episode 8 seems like they're gonna do a lot of Hollow Earth stuff. At least like I didn't think we would get it this early, if I'm being honest. It's really cool. But that's for the next episode. This one ends with the Alaskan portal being closed, right? Is that this episode?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Kurt Russell and his whole crew, like, all right guys, now we're monster hunters. Or we're portal closers. They call them portals, which is super. I don't remember that part, I guess, of
and it's not clear what happens to the Frostmark. It shows up, but it's not clear if it or if it gets destroyed.
I'm going to assume it something bad happened to it. I'm just going to assume that because that's the trajectory of what they're doing. But yeah, the episode ends with the big portal, the blue portal coming from the snow getting destroyed. It's like big tornado explosion. I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no! Like is Kurt Russell
is Shaw bad?
Is Shaw bad?
We had to wait for the next week to go like, maybe not. Maybe he's okay.
And I was like, that was a really cool way to end the episode of like, oh man, like maybe we have our villain of the show now.
Everything we knew was wrong.
Everything we knew was wrong. My favorite
trailer. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Any other thoughts on episode 7 specifically, Ben? Before we move on,
not specifically, no.
Okay. We'll go on to episode 8, Birthright, which is the most recent episode of Monarch. Really enjoying it. Really love the show. Let's go back to the past with Lee and Keiko.
Yep.
And they're at that gala event, and they are in that conversations they're having. They are not telling the general at that point in time about Godzilla.
Yeah.
We as we kind of suspected from the end of the previous episode, episode 6, they're keeping that information to themselves because Keiko wants it that way. She fears what they'll do in pursuit of trying to kill Godzilla.
Yeah. They give this new guy all the information they have, and he's like, I see no reason y'all should stay an organization. Y'all are giving me nothing.
Yeah.
And then he also said some shit about Keiko, like, oh, she's got some skeletons in her closet. You should, the FBI.
Yes, yeah.
And then that's when
Bill hauls off on,
which is good because Lee said, if I were to want to do it, I'd be thrown in jail.
Yes.
So thank you for trying to beat the shit out of that guy. Appreciate it.
Right.
That was a good little emotional moment.
I thought so too. Also, the hints that Keiko has something shady in her past.
Yep.
I think before we move too far away from it, we should talk about Keiko or that was this episode, right? Like Keiko and Lee, or am I remembering an earlier episode? Keiko and Lee at the dance and
that was
episode ago.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
That was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, because No. So it's right. So it's this one, and they're only giving him because they're not giving him all their information, not just Godzilla, but also like other details that they haven't broken down into a way for him to understand. So it sounds like gobbledygook that he doesn't get why they're even bothering with it.
And Bill and Keiko are like, all right, we need to make a map.
And that's what Lee says.
That's what Lee says. Oh, okay.
Make me a map.
There you go.
And they're like, what do you mean make you a map? And he's like, take everything you have.
Yeah.
Make me a clear map of what information we have so I can hand to them and be like, here is a map. Here is and like this obviously leads to like the cosmic radiation map and everything that we've been talking about and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Randa, we'll talk about here. Randa establishing his Hollow Earth theory.
Yes.
Which is huge. The huge moment of where this begins.
Yeah. So they're making a map, and it's like not enough. It's still not enough. It's like they're like, oh, we know Godzilla was here. We might know someone's here, so we can't actually say that. Like they don't have enough information to fully convince anyone in like of this opinion, right? And then and they also have a really sweet moment. Like Keiko and Bill are slowly like, getting a little closer.
Right.
She leaves, and then he's just like studying the map, and then an ant goes through the map.
Right.
And he's like,
that was really cool.
What if that means that there's a portal in the middle of the earth? I'm like, that's a big leap, my man, but I like your thinking.
Because the big question they're being asked and that they don't have an answer for is like, how come we don't see all these Titans everywhere?
Yeah, where are they?
Where are they?
Yeah.
And the answer that Randa comes up with that nobody will believe until Kong Skull Island
for 20 years.
Yeah, is that there is a hollow Earth, that there are portals around the Earth. Now this is cool because we have not gotten this description about the hollow Earth before.
Yeah,
we've gotten an idea that like that there's a world under there, that the monsters, we know that's true.
Yeah.
But we have not gotten the implication of like they're literally portaling to another place that is bigger than what the inside of the planet would be.
That's some Doctor Who shit, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I love that idea. And like, cause like we see it in this episode at the end, like it's just a portal. It's like, yo, there's no bottom to that. That's like a swirling mass of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't think about that. Cause like we see it in GVK, like they're in these ships and they're traveling, but like, I never consider those to be like wormholes, which I guess they are. That's kind of wild.
All we get, the closest we get to it is the gravity switch, which is a cool moment in GVK, which is that when they bottom out, the gravity has this moment where it switches and they have to have ships that are able to calculate for that in the right timing, or they crash on entry.
Journey
back into the tunnel
of the Earth.
So this was really cool. I thought this was really cool to get how Bill came up with it, what he's thinking about it, all this stuff. And like Keiko loves it. She's like, this is insane and brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think the building of like them being a relationship as well is really sweet. I just like all this past shit, man. Like I like a lot of the stuff we're doing in 2015, but I really like when we're spending time with these characters in the past. I think they're great.
I agree.
I do. If I had a knock on the season, it's just I wish I was spending more time with them than I am. Yeah. But it's just because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
Because they're so cool. I do love just while we're on it, like when Randa gets upset when they get sent downstairs and he punched the hole in the wall and we find out that's Tim's office.
And he's like, I inherited that hole.
Yeah. And he doesn't know. It's so sad because he would love it if he knew it was Randa.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like, the government can't pay for shit. Just put a poster over it.
That's another thing. We learned that Monarch is like, while Monarch is Monarch is also strapped for resources.
Yeah.
That they don't have as much technology as we think they do. And they don't have as much on accessible to them as we thought they did.
They have one big cool computer room, and then the rest are just shitty hallways and office buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think says a lot about this moment, that like the funding hasn't like trickled down to Monarch in a big way yet, because even with Godzilla out there, it does kind of feel like the world's not really convinced there's
more than one,
a lot of severe threat to warrant putting more resources into Monarch, which is also part of the problem.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if they put a lot of money to them to build the early alarm systems and everything, and the bunker systems in the big cities and everything.
That was all the money.
And then that kind of be everything they gave them. And now Monarch's like, we're still strapped.
Yeah.
Because Monarch still can't tell them where the Titans are.
If only they had more funding for King of the Monsters. Who knows how different that movie would have been for all those people who died.
If only.
There's a beautiful moment. There's a beautiful moment with Keiko where we learn her dirty secret, and it's not really a dirty secret. It's just that she has a kid, and like she had problems immigrating to the country because like she's Japanese and her husband died. Isn't that right? She's a widower. Yeah, and like. Yeah. And Bill's just there like, don't worry, we'll raise that kid. Don't worry. I definitely don't want to be the dad who stepped up, my stepdad. I just love that scene. It's so cute. And she puts her hand on his hand. It's like, this is the moment.
Yeah.
This is the moment where love blossoms.
It was really interesting to like, there've been obviously a lot of people tossing around like Hiroshi's not going to be Bill's kid. It's going to be Lee's kid, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, he's neither.
Yeah.
He comes from a relationship before.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that coming.
No.
And I thought that was
the second she said you have to be quiet, I was like, oh no, please tell me the rumors are true. Because when the Lieutenant Match or whatever his name is, I think it was Match, whatever the lieutenant was who took over Monarch, he was saying that, oh, you wouldn't believe what the FBI found out about her. I'm thinking, oh, was she like accused of being a spy for the Imperial for the Japanese Imperial government?
Yeah.
Was she sent here by the Japanese to undermine the United States after the war? What, you know, it was one of those things where you really hope it doesn't happen. Like when Billy shows up and he's telling her, it's like, I think I figured it out. These ants, they went into a hole. What if there's something bigger? The whole hollow earth theory. And she was like, keep your voice down. I was thinking, oh, is she like has visitors? What's going on? But then when we see Hiroshi himself, it's like the biggest weight went off my shoulders, because I was like, oh, thank goodness. Keiko really is a good person. She just wanted to have quiet time with his son. Okay.
Yeah, I could live with that. I definitely thought it was gonna be like, oh, there's another man in the picture, and she just didn't want to tell them to like, because like she knows that like both of them care for her in some way. And I was like, oh man, is this about to be really dramatic? And like, no, it's not. It's actually gonna be really sweet.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, thank you for subverting what I thought was gonna happen. Because there's already enough there's already enough people cheating on people, having families, like a romance, and like it would have been fine. But I'm like, I'm glad they took a different, more sweet route.
Yeah, they really.
I wonder if
dragged into something that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was thinking of a completely different characters. Like when they would pop up, it's like, am I the only one on this team with a normal family? It's like, nah, none of them have normal families.
Yeah. So this takes us to Lee. Lee going to talk to Colonel Packett?
General Packett.
General Packett?
Yeah, I think we could definitely go there. So that's a really good bit where Lee finally has the map and everything finished, and he takes it to the general and he says, I want to be clear, this information comes from Monarch, and it comes from the resources and hard work of
scientists,
Randa and Mira.
Yeah.
And I want them to stay involved in Monarch and the heads of Monarch, because this is their work that and he throws the other guy under the bus. He says like he has not been turning in all the information because he's been trying to move budget allocations for himself.
Yeah, trying to take those funds.
But this is all of the information. He's like, okay, but like what kind of information? He's like, information about Godzilla. And he's like, well, it's classified. Why would he talk about Godzilla? Because we didn't kill him. He's like, what? Are you screwing with me? And he's like, by what reports it? It's like, my own eyes, asshole.
I saw it. I was there.
Godzilla's alive.
It's like, do we have confirmation? It's like, I can confirm I was there. It's like, oh, I don't know why, but whenever someone like EB at work or some other thing happens, and it's like, can you confirm? Have you seen it? And the second I get to say I saw it myself, it's just, ooh. It gives me some sort of satisfaction. I don't know why, but just the fact that his like, I could confirm I saw with my own eyes. It's like, yeah, the fudge you did, boy.
Yeah, right. and Packett, like, he like, Shaw, you had your chance. Like, you blew it. Like, there's nothing you can tell me to make this change. What if Godzilla's still alive? What'd you say? Here you go. Here's some funding. Do you want to be director? Whatever it is. Like, it's like, no, like, make sure the scientists are still in charge.
Yeah, importantly, like, that's not even what Lee's gunning for. He's saying, like, I just want you to keep the funding going to Monarch and make sure that neither of those scientists are kicked out. And that's all he's really championing for, which is really nice and really altruistic, and him trying to fix his problem. Yet we have to acknowledge that at the same time that Lee is trying to fix his mistake, Lee is also betraying Keiko by saying, hey, Godzilla's alive.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, there is a possibility that General Packett is not going to share that information with anybody.
Yeah.
Because it also looks bad for him.
Yeah.
Because it's his mission that got him promoted, re-ranks. And if he has to reveal that was a failure with no other solutions, then that looks bad for him. So he's now motivated to keep Monarch funded to get more information, but maybe not necessarily to reveal that Godzilla's alive. So I am wondering how shrewd of a good tactic this was from Lee. Like, what are we going to find out? Did Packett only tell certain superiors? Did Packett tell none?
The president.
He has to tell them something to warrant getting more stuff to Monarch and keeping Monarch the way it is. But I do question, like, does Packett want them to know that Godzilla's alive?
That's a good point.
Right. I feel while I'm watching this, especially when Shaw goes to Packett and tells him Godzilla's alive, even after Billy and Keiko straight up said, no, don't keep him. Like, they're going to continuously hunt him. They're going to do all this other stuff, which she's not wrong. But it was just that once again, going back to future Shaw, doing the right thing under the wrong, or doing the wrong thing to do the right thing. if that makes sense.
No,
because they all swore it's like we're not going to talk about Godzilla, but he knows if he doesn't tell Packet that traditional weapons won't kill Godzilla, then Monarch is screwed, and he doesn't have anything else. So it's one of those. What is the lesser of two evils? Shutting down Monarch and letting these Titans roam free without any sort of possibility to keep him in check? Or tell him that Godzilla is alive and we can't do jack squat about it because he took an A-bomb to the face and lives.
Yeah. I think it was like Lee's Hail Mary. Because I don't think even he was convinced that like just the map would have been enough. He's like, I need a touchdown on this one. And like
he wasn't, and that's what he was arguing with Keiko about. He's saying like we have to tell them, and she's like, no, they're gonna build these bombs. He's like, they're gonna build them anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And she's like, yeah, but it can't be against Godzilla. Like it can't be. They'll do it forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is an interesting like, and as she's getting close to Randa, Lee taking another step that puts him in this like feeling like she betrayed to her that he betrays her trust.
Yeah.
Even if he's doing it for the right reasons and like it gets to the right results, it's still something she didn't want them to know.
Yeah. And it looks like that information didn't get back to Keiko because they're all hanging out in the first episode where she dies. Right. So like, maybe you're right. Maybe Packet doesn't tell her. And it's just like, that was just now that he has an information, like, that's almost like, it's almost like his like safeguard in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost it.
Well, we know Monarch peters down in relevance and resources all the way until the end of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So it very well could be. I wouldn't surprise me if the reason is because like Packet diverted as much as he could for as long as he could.
Yeah.
Without telling anyone Godzilla was alive. And that's the reason is that he just couldn't own that failure.
Yeah. Is that the last of the past stuff?
I don't think there's anything else that's like super relevant now. I don't have anything else in my notes. Oh, no.
Okay.
That seems to be everything that I can recall.
Back to Future Shaw.
Really good stuff though.
Oh yeah. I'm back to Future Shaw and like we're going back to where it all started. We're going back to Kazakhstan from episode 1. Because that's the next portal hole he's got to blow up. And all teams are converging on here. You got Shaw's team, and then you got Kate and team. You
have a really good flashback scene where he's sitting in the back on their road to Kazakhstan.
Oh yes,
and he's seeing them in the front
talking about their kid.
Randa and her talking about
talking about
Hiroshi. Yeah. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah,
I am so surprised it took us this long to circle back to the Kazakhstan story that we started the series with.
Yeah.
But I really like the road they've taken to get us here.
Yeah. Especially where it ends, which we'll get to. But so the Kate and team show up and Shaw's team are already there. They blew a hole in the side of a building. Then they find a bunch of shells. A bunch of molted shells from some of the bugs that we saw in episode 1.
The exoshells.
And then she's like, do you know why bugs molt? It's because they outgrew their skin and they need to get bigger. And I'm like, oh, we're about to see a bunch of big bitches. Oh, man.
Tim immediately showing how he's not cut out for the field.
Oh, yeah. They find the hole where Keiko is, and they find a bunch of bombs placed about.
Yep.
And then Shaw's team swarms in. You got Michelle pointing the gun at all the homies. And then Shaw just walks in. What's up, homies? What up, guys?
So glad you're here.
Yeah.
Which also, again, still feels in like I'm feeling some ego vibes. Are we in the villain moment?
Yeah.
And but then he has this conversation with Kate because he only wants to talk to her because she's the one who looked at Godzilla. He's like, I know he saw you.
Yeah.
So you can talk to me about this. And it's his belief that Godzilla is the person who's monitoring the worlds. And he's trying to keep the balance so that they stay in theirs and the humans stay in theirs and nobody intermingles, which is an interesting thing to have Shaw taking his stance on.
Yeah. And I like it. I do agree with him. Like if I had to pick a side, I think I'd rather blow up the monster holes, but like, because we don't know again, the ramifications that every time he blows one of these up, it like charges the other ones to make,
and notably they're charging up anyway.
Yeah.
They're just like, that's part of the problem is that they've been tracking them because they're charging up anyway.
That's right.
But now the other ones are getting supercharged, and they're saying like you're still going to cause a big event. You're just going to you're basically going to whittle down where it happens.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's also his plan. Like maybe like he knows like, oh, we're gonna target all these ones, and the last one we'll be able to deal with because it's only one left.
And that's why Hiroshi's taking Godzilla somewhere.
Yeah,
specific point.
It could be like there's that Sean and Hiroshi are not talking to each other, right? Like,
right. No.
Okay, so like, but they could be doing the same plan without knowing it in a way. Like
Hiroshi doesn't have the resources to be blowing up holes.
Well, not blowing it up, but like maybe leading Godzilla to like this final place if we're following the map that he made.
Possible.
Maybe. It is. I would say maybe, but just that scene going back to Kazakhstan, like you guys said earlier, where it all began, and seeing those molten bugs carcasses, or not carcasses, but the molten skin or exoskeletons. I'm just like, we're going to Starship Troopers vibe right now. I'm not ready for it. And then when they look down into the hole, they see like, oh yeah, there's the Hollow Earth. That's the entrance to the Hollow Earth, like it is in Godzilla versus Kong. And I was like, all right, cool. We're not just gonna reference stuff that might happen in GMK, or King of the Monsters, not GMK, but on all this other great stuff. And the second that bug came out of the ground, I'm like, bad times, all the bad times. But going back to what earlier when I talked about one of the great character moments of Shaw was him talking to Kate about Godzilla, saying, this is what he's here for.
Right.
While he doesn't have this magnificent villain spiel of a guy who knows who says he's not the bad guy, but does bad guy things, he knows, he's like, yeah, I'm not doing the greatest thing right here. I wish it didn't come to this, but these idiots wouldn't listen to me, and this is the only way to do it.
Yes, that's really important, because we get a really key part of information is that Monarch as an organization itself does not believe in the Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah.
Up to this point in 2015, they still don't believe it, which is why they haven't been listening to Lee. And even Hiroshi didn't believe it at first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now, not potentially, like next episode, we're going into the Hollow Earth.
Yeah,
baby.
I did not expect that to happen in this episode. Like I expected either for them to blow up or we lose a character and it's all sad. But like to have a lot of your main characters fall into this big old hole that takes you to another world, I'm like, oh shit. And Shaw said he's been there before. I'm like,
yes, yeah. Having hints at like, has that affected your lifespan? That kind of
Brandon's theory about something happened to him is apparently going to come true.
Right.
I didn't think it was going to involve the Hollow Earth, though.
This is a good time for me to bring up that I have a new theory as of this episode, which Ryan rightly says is too out of this world and bonkers.
I want to believe it,
but I like it, which is that I now am not entirely convinced that Keiko is dead.
I think she's alive for sure.
Because they said presumed dead so pointedly in this episode, and I am wondering if she will have essentially reincarnated or connected her spirit to Mothra. And that's what we're going to learn is that, and probably not the Mothra we would see in, not necessarily the Mothra we see in King of the Monsters, but perhaps the mother of that Mothra. That is in the Hollow Earth. I'm wondering that because there's the pointed way that they say like presumed dead. There's Kate saying sounds like she was a force of nature, and I'm like, you don't say. And her as this like leading founder of Monarch, the idea that she turns into a monarch butterfly, the queen of the monsters at the end, would be very poetic. I'd be like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. Yeah. And it wouldn't be like people have soul connected with Mothra before. This is not out of the realm of the Japanese interpretations of Mothra, what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be interesting and a possibility. I doubt they're doing it, but I think it would be cool. There is another possibility also that involves a different Toho monster that I find even more unlikely, which is that she is Biollante. Which is only because, again, going back to the force of nature thing, Biollante is also a person who turns into a kaiju. So
yeah,
I could see it. I highly doubt that one. I also doubt my own Mothra theory, but damn it, would it be cool?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I'm the guy who wants aliens to be in Godzilla like yesterday. So like I am down for wild, crazy ideas. I think this show and this universe is a little more grounded than that. But again, like we have a 90-year-old man who apparently was maybe radioactive into being younger. So like
sure. And like let's scale back for more what this show does, what my theory would mean. Maybe she isn't Mothra literally, but she could be down there also not aging just like he is.
That's what I think it is.
And be like the person who is connected to Mothra at that time, before the twins, before all that.
Yeah.
She's the person who's connected to Mothra in there. I still think that would be cool.
I want more Mothra. Yeah, 100%. I can buy into her being connected to Mothra, but I don't know if her becoming Mothra is something this show would do.
Yeah.
But again, like if I see a lady turn into a big butterfly, like I'm gonna lose my mind.
Or if she dies in the show and then is connected to Mothra, that would be wild.
Just to get killed off,
especially as a person who believes Godzilla should never be killed. And in King of the Monsters, Mothra goes and saves Godzilla's life and gives him the power to defeat King Ghidorah.
Yeah,
poetry.
It rhymes.
I also thought, like, the second May and everyone else fell down, I was like, okay, so they're not dead. What if Keiko wasn't dead?
Yeah,
because you only see her fall. I mean, it sound like she might have been because she was getting swarmed and she could have been eaten by bugs like piranhas. I don't know. We don't know because we never see that bit. But the fact that I kind of hope that she is alive. And once they get down there, they see her essentially turn into like this master of the Hollow Earth, and then she's like, "Wait, why do you look like my kid?" It's because we're your grandkids. Surprise, Oh man, that would be so cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But I really like what Sparkz said about the Mothra bit, because that would also be really rad. Because Mothra always had, even in the older Godzilla films, Mothra always had some sort of mysticism about her. But I don't know. I
think that the line. I think we're all on to something. Like they would not say presumed dead,
right? Like
they didn't have to say that line because we saw what happened to her.
Right.
Like it looks like she dies. Then they confirm like, oh, she might not be dead. Like, well, I think that's teeing us up for oh man, it's gonna be like Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's lost in the quantum realm, the kind of thing. Like 100%. That's really exciting. And again, like this show has in a high budget. We don't see giant monsters every episode, and if we do, it's for a very brief time. But like, yes, Ben.
Shaw said he'd been there.
He did. Yeah.
So if Keiko is alive, and I just think I found a new wrinkle. I don't know.
My question is like, was he there looking for her and he didn't find her? Because he definitely didn't find her and leave.
I think he would have mentioned something by now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to keep that secret.
But I would buy that he went down there looking for her pretty much immediately after. And that's like, I wouldn't be surprised, Ben, if like the opening of the episode is right after the end of the first episode when they're at the hole.
Yeah.
And he goes down looking for her.
Yeah.
And he can't find her.
Okay, yeah.
Randa, I don't think Randa doesn't go.
This is another thing though, like is that maybe he wouldn't do it then because Randa didn't have absolute proof that the Hollow Earth theory was real.
Yeah.
So if he did it in that moment, like Randa would know.
Yeah.
Randa doesn't know the Hollow Earth theory is real until Kong Skull Island.
Yeah. So I think
like that concrete, that it's real, that it's
concrete.
True. Yeah, right, exactly. He doesn't have the proof he needs.
Yeah, this feels like
show it's
Lee goes out on his own, and then by coming back, he confirms it at the Randa, and Randa's like, "I knew it. Time to start planning."
And then he turns into John Goodman.
And then he turns into John Goodman.
Because Kong takes place in what, 1977?
It's the 70s. Yeah, we still got a long, like 20 years, 15 to 20 years before that shit happens.
Yeah, because when did Kazakhstan happen? 1960 something?
No, I thought it was still, wasn't it the 50s? Still like late 50s?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure.
If it's 60s, then he turns into John Goodman in like a decade, and that's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable no matter what you do.
No, it's true.
I mean, the grief of losing your...
It's during Vietnam, so when was Vietnam?
It is 1959 when they're in Kazakhstan.
Okay,
so just before 1960.
Okay, so 59 to like 77 approximately. So still like it's 18 years. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Still ample time to turn to John Goodman then.
Oh yeah. gain a bunch of weight, make your voice deeper, go a little crazy.
You know, I mean, you lose your wife, you watch your wife fall, you raise a kid who's super smart and stuff, and you work for an organization that hunts down giant radioactive monsters. It'll do something to a man.
Ooh, 1973.
73. Okay, so it's a little closer.
Is when Skull Island takes place.
So actually, here's the thing: if Randa is like it's Skull Island when he finally confirms it, then maybe Lee doesn't tell him he went down there. Because don't you think he would have been like Randa would have tried to get down there a lot earlier than like 15 years later?
Or maybe Lee goes down there after Randa disappears on Skull Island.
This is what I was wondering.
Oh, I didn't even consider
this is what I was wondering after Bill dies. If he later, because
I didn't even consider that.
I don't know how you don't have the A to B from him getting communication from Bill that he got confirmation of the Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is more or less what I was wondering is if Lee goes down the hole after Bill's gone.
I didn't even, for some reason, because he
wants, maybe he just thinks that's a direct way that not only can he look for Keiko possibly, but he can also prove that the Hollow Earth is real.
I was just thinking like we were sticking in like the 50s, 60s area, but there's no reason he couldn't have done this 20 years later.
Right.
That's a good point. Good point, guys.
This is what I'm thinking is that if Lee did it, he probably did it after Bill was gone.
Like his expedition went awry, so Lee's like, oh shit, I need to check this shit out.
Yeah.
And then I got radioactive poison to make me young.
Which is part of the problem, right? Because like you have the other guy from Kong's Island coming back and saying the Hollow Earth is real, but Monarch's clearly not buying it.
Yeah.
They don't have Randa's files and proof that he tossed in that went to Hiroshi from the ocean, and and if Lee tries to go and get proof and he fails to bring it back, then they're still not going to believe it.
Yeah. So that must mean Lee's mission went wrong if he went down there, because so man, it's so much. Oh man, I'm so excited now. That's awesome.
So it was a really interesting thing to hear him say, I've been there. And we're all like, what does that mean, though?
Yeah. What bug did you touch to give you infinite youth? I'm so excited to see that.
But like, what were the circumstances? What were they looking for? Who was he with?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. We have a lot to learn there.
He went on his own really mini Skull Island adventure, and his whole team also got killed.
Oh, man.
Hey, you might not be wrong.
Give me the movie.
Yeah.
What'd you say, man?
But yeah. No, I was saying Ryan might not be wrong. He had that Shaw had his own Skull Island adventure and everything went wrong.
Well, I mean, like let's broaden it out just a little bit, because like while we do know that like and I forget the character's name, but the other guy who's with Randa comes back and he has he relays to them the information that says that the Hollow Earth theory was real and that there are other Titans, where he shows them the cave paintings of Godzilla and Rodan and King Ghidorah and Mothra. But that's all like, sure, that's a tease up for that movie, but that still like isn't enough proof for Monarch. So let's assume, because we know at the beginning of Kong Skull Island, Monarch is on the cusp of being shut down.
Yeah.
This is their last chance to prove something. If they, even with him coming back and saying like all these things happened, and even with the other people who came back saying these things happened, if they don't take that as enough evidence to believe it and just believe this island is dangerous, because they know Godzilla exists, so they're like, oh, there's just a dangerous big monkey there. We're not surprised about that. That's one dangerous island we could never go to before. That doesn't mean there's a Hollow Earth.
True.
And in knowing that, Lee, having lost Bill to that mission on Skull Island, goes, I gotta go get proof. I'm gonna go find the Hollow Earth.
That'd be sick as hell. If like, and again, like these portals, like it could just be down into the Hollow Earth like we see in the other movies. But like, if we see Lee on Skull Island, that would be huge. That'd be so dope.
Right.
Like, and again, I'm not expecting like a King Kong cameo, but like that'd be crazy. That'd be so. If I saw Skullcrawler in this show, like this is the Monsterverse, right? It's not just Godzilla related. So like, the possibilities are endless and they're really cool. And again, it's like all those folks falling into that hole. I'm like, yo, dude, we're about to see a bunch of cool special effects. Holy shit! Oh yeah, we're actually doing the whole episode, or even half an episode. What if it's like a whole episode where it's like the Lee's portion in the past, and then we're in the future with him in the whole too? And I'm like, that's so great. I didn't think we'd be here.
Right.
I would like that episode actually, or I would really like that episode. At least that's what I think, or at least that's what I hope, because I kind of am looking forward to an episode where it's all in the past, like it's all in the 50s. It's all in the lead up to Kazakhstan. one of the other things I do like about this episode is you see Billy and Keiko start to get closer and closer together, and it's cute. It really is cute because obviously when we first see him, or in the very beginning of the show, when Keiko is introduced to Shaw, you think, oh, those two were going to end up together, and it's like because there's a chemistry there. But then of course you get Billy stepping up and like, hey, this girl is also very special because she didn't leave me for dead on the ship on the Lawton, but also she listens to my theories. She at least entertains them. She doesn't completely shoot him down. Like when he finds out about Hiroshi, he's like, but what if there's something bigger on the inside, like you said, and there's something else, like another plane that exists, or that whole thing. And she's like, it's crazy, but at the same time, it makes sense.
Yeah, and he says like it's not under, it's like parallel. It's like it is another world. It's like it's so cool to think too. Like there's a world within a world. That's so wild to think. I love that.
Yeah, and I just love how Keiko goes. It's like she doesn't go, "What are you? You're crazy. Get out, you stupid." Insulting him. She's like, "No, that actually might make sense." It's like she entertains the idea because she doesn't want to completely shoot him down. And also, like when she's talking about how hard it was for her to get Hiroshi from Japan to the United States, and Billy's at first saying, I mean us, Monarch, we have you back. He's like, you could tell he actually does legitimately care for her, which obviously they're married, which is really cute. But it's seeing their relationship blossom. I feel like their relationship blossoms more organically than it would have been between Shaw and Keiko.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I want to tell you guys the title for the next episode is called Axis Mundi, which means connection between heavenly and earthly realms, or cosmic axis, world pillar, center of the world, or world tree.
Journey to the world tree, center of the earth.
So we're definitely doing some heavy Hollow Earth stuff in that next episode.
And I'll tell you what, like earlier in some of the episodes we did before, like there's probably going to be like a giant monster fight at the end of the show. If it's not that, and like the penultimate episode is just we're in the Hollow Earth, that's just as good. That's just as great because we're going to see some cool shit, whether it's just some crazy plants. Like an Avatar-esque world, or we do see, like the bamboo spiders again,
Monsterverse scavengers.
Monsterverse scavengers, yeah, anything. Oh, dude, Scavengers Reign is so good. You should watch Scavengers Reign. It's like every time we talk about like 2 episodes, it's like, all right, cool. Like I don't really know what to expect for the next ones because there's always something surprising. And like again, seeing the Hollow Earth this early in season 1 is like not something I expected. So like, it's gonna be baller, man. It's gonna be so cool.
This is one of those things. Like you brought up I like what you just said, Ryan, because it's very much like one of the reasons I'm enjoying the show is because I really don't know what's going to happen, which is wild. Knowing there are 2 movies I know have full knowledge of in the future, I don't know where this show's going to go exactly or what it's going to do. And I really feel like they've been playing with that space really well. This truly is like turning out to be a really great cinematic universe, and they're using what they can really well, and they're surprising us at so many turns. It's a thrill to me that like people who are less like invested in the Monsterverse are enjoying this show, like my wife and my sister-in-law. Like this is clicking because it's so well constructed for revealing the mysteries of these characters and deepening these relationships and what they mean. Go ahead, Ben.
So many times when I'm watching like like fantasy epics, or even like other shows when I was a kid, cartoons, anything with like a decent narrative, I would always, one of the things I like to do was essentially create like I've never wrote them down, which I wish I should have, but I would create like little mini fanfics of the stuff that happens in between. Like, here's some characters that happen in between the main arcs of the main story, stuff that can help accentuate the story. Something that you don't need to read it, but if you want more, you want to stay in the world more, here you go.
Comic book tie-ins.
Filler, where Goku and Piccolo get their driver's licenses.
Which is peak.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be filler. There'd still be like some good action and some story and some like major, but yeah, like it's filler, but it's good filler. You know, it's not boring. It's like, oh, get on with that filler.
Right.
While I don't want to call this show filler,
yes,
it technically is, but it's so good that I don't mind it because once again, the what Monarch has been able to do, what like Matt Fraction and everyone else on the team have been able to do, is give us human characters in the Monsterverse that we care about. They're essentially pulling a Godzilla -1, whereas I care more about the human characters than Godzilla. Now, while the show does revolve around Godzilla, it revolves on Monarch and around the other Titans and everything, and of course we see Godzilla a few times. I mean, seeing Godzilla is always a fun thing to do, but it's not the focal point. Unlike, -1. -1 is like, yeah, we gotta see Godzilla because he's the point of the movie. But with this one, it's just different. And it's such a good different. Like it is so hard to get the secret sauce of a TV show where it's like, hey, here's a TV show that doesn't have a lot of Godzilla in it, but that's not a bad point.
Right.
It is actually a really good point because you get to focus on the characters. You get to just talk, and they don't dance around the point, because you know how in the, like, say Daredevil, in the first season Daredevil, where they danced around saying Thor, Iron Man, or the Avengers or anything like that.
Yeah.
They never said fully outright. This just said, oh, the guy with the magic hammer, because that's Thor. They'll just straight up like, yeah, Godzilla.
Yeah,
like, we see Godzilla in the very beginning of the show for attacking San Francisco, or fighting in San Francisco, I should say. He wasn't deliberately attacking. But even though I kind of hope we do get a big monster showdown at the end of the show, if we don't, but we get some satisfaction with the mystery, we get like maybe some sort of cliffhanger with Godzilla facing down another Titan, or even just like looking up or like them finding Godzilla, preventing another big G-Day moment, and just Godzilla's just like walking around and roaring in the sunset, I would be upset about that ending. And I hope we're getting a season 2. Like, I feel like there's so much more we could dive into this with not just these characters, but with just the idea of Monarch, or how it changed from the 50s to today.
Mm-hmm.
I am on board 100%.
Yeah, this show, like, really, it's like a mystery drama.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just following a bunch of people trying to find their dad, and they have like family issues. Also, Godzilla happens to be them.
Right.
And like we've talked about it again, like on previous episodes, but like this show is such a gamble, and like without a great creative team, this show would have been boring as hell and nobody would be watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care about the characters, guess what? It's entirely all about them. So like you kind of don't have a show if they aren't good. Right?
I kind of wrote it off. Like, when we heard that they're making a Godzilla TV show, it's like, that can't be good, can it? And then we see the trailers. It's like, okay. And then thankfully word of mouth is like, okay. And then we started watching. We're doing a Fickner's Watch for this. And now all of a sudden it's like, yo, Monarch is one of the best shows to come out of 2023. And it's the Peacemaker effect, where you think that the show was it's like, why are we getting this? There's no need for this. No one asked for it. But all of a sudden, we watch it and we realize, never mind, forget everything I said. This is one of the best damn things to come out in X amount of years.
Yeah. If like bringing up like if all like filler or tie-in stuff was as good as Monarch, then the world would be a better place. Because quite frankly, a lot of the tie-in stuff, like, people don't put as much effort, or they don't care as much, because like, again, a tie-in isn't as like valuable to the brand, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you read a random tie-in for like a Marvel event comic, like, there's a good chance it probably won't be good because like it's not as important to the title. But luckily, people who do care, if you get your hands on a small character, that book can be just as important as the bigger title. And it goes for this show. Like, this show is accentuating everything we love about Godzilla, and it's also just a really good TV drama.
I don't mean to draw too much of a comparison to the MCU, but this is very much like, if you've listened to us talk about any of the Disney Plus shows or films in Phase 4 and Phase 5, not every project, obviously, but this is why I still feel like some of them should have been set during the 5-year gap between the beginning of Endgame and the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's so much character stuff you can build in, and so much world building you can add in, the same way of what Monarch is doing right here.
Yeah.
I think you have so much more to work with when you have these characters working in a structure of, we know where the world is heading.
Yeah.
They have things they can build up to with those characters by doing it. And I think it was a huge mistake to always be having all these new properties, constantly trying to tease something that wasn't out yet, rather than working up to building up to something.
We get blip table scraps.
Yeah.
And we are now past the point of when the blip happened in the universe.
Meanwhile, over here, Monarch's like, hey, G-Day, and you know what comes after.
Yeah.
We're going to play with all of that.
It's beautiful.
You know what the show is doing? And it's doing it in such a masterful way. And I have one last example that I want to talk about for a hot second, mostly with how they kind of botched it, or at least how, from what I remember, audiences were kind of like, that's it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the tie-in to Age of Ultron.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
When there's apparently all this like fake, or like, I don't know if it was Disney or if it was Marvel or who it was, but people were talking about how we gotta watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because something's gonna happen and that's gonna tie directly into the Age of Ultron. It was like this big event, this big thing. And all it was like, they found a helicarrier. That was it.
Well, okay. I just to give a small defense to them, the fan base did that more than anybody because they were coming off the Winter Soldier,
which is the best,
which was an incredible tie-in. So everybody was anticipating the same thing was going to happen with Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
The audience was building that fervor that was going to happen. To the credit of the show, we got Maria Hill for an entire episode that led up to them finding that helicarrier. So like they did what they could. The expectations were unreasonable.
Yeah.
Because
they hit it out of the park
they hit it out of the park on the Winter Soldier tie-in stuff.
Yeah.
Just like Disney and Marvel weren't going out there like, this is gonna be you cannot miss this before seeing of Age of Ultron. They weren't doing that. The fans were doing that.
Okay. Once again,
I was in the trenches, Ben. I remember, and let me tell you, the fans were wrong.
I went back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last year. Today's the first, so I can say that. The final season, which I didn't watch, and I'm like, oh man, like after Winter Soldier, they really just couldn't do that again. Like every tie-in, whether it's Age of Ultron or it's Infinity War, there's no real Endgame stuff, from what I remember. But that final season, that final season is just them doing fun time travel shit. So I'm like, man, you started so strong, and there's no way you could have done that again. Whether it's because they weren't allowed to, or they couldn't think of anything good enough. But like,
their best season after that is season 4, which is the one where they go like completely the other direction of like doing their own thing, and but using the tools of the world, which is where they go into an alternate world where Hydra won.
That's good shit.
And all that shit like that worked.
Yeah.
That all worked. Like we saw Triskelion run by Hydra and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
And like that's the kind of world shit that it feels like Monarch is doing. Monarch feels just as good as like when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was doing the Winter Soldier tie-in, or like again,
but
like,
every episode.
It's what but every episode. Yeah, Monarch scratching a particular itch I didn't know I had, and that's what it's doing.
Yeah,
it's magic, dude. That's all I can say about it. It's just pure. I guess I could call it movie magic, even though it's technically a television show. But they're delivering. I did not think I would be one of my favorite shows. Would be a show that it's like when you pitch it to me, it's like, hey, here's a Godzilla show, but there's like 2% Godzilla and 98% other stuff. And yet I'm like, I care so much about the other stuff than the 2% of Godzilla. It's wild. Right. It's nuts.
It really is like the right team having the right opportunity, the right support to make something like this. And it's really exciting, and I really hope that they get to do more, because I have no doubts at this point that they've impressed me week after week. I have no doubts that episodes 9 and 10 are gonna land. That I'm gonna be really happy with them. I just want more of it. I know they want to make more of it. I hope they have that opportunity, because it's so cool, and I really love what it's doing. It's the kind of cinematic universe world building I wish the MCU wanted to do.
If you look at all the other big Apple Plus TV shows, like Ted Lasso got multiple seasons. I just finished Foundation, which had its 3rd season announced, and Monarch is one of their most watched shows. There's not if Foundation, which is like a hardcore sci-fi show that not a lot of people are watching, get 3 seasons, there's no way in hell Godzilla doesn't get a 2nd season. There's no way in hell. It's absolutely getting a 2nd season. People love the show, and it's critically acclaimed, and it's like one of the most watched shows every time it premieres. Like I would be shocked if this doesn't get a 2nd season.
Yeah, me too.
Too good, too juicy.
Or the writers and the creative team can pull Watchmen and say, hey, we had this idea for a season and it's a one and done, but it's a really good.
No, they want to do it.
They're already out there saying like we will make seasons as long as they let us make seasons, because
never mind.
And like we've talked about before, like they have the groundwork for like 3 more movies.
Once by the time they'll be working on the next season, like the next movie will be out, so they'll have 3 films that they can work their way up to in doing stuff.
Yeah,
like and hopefully the next movie after that will want to communicate on getting things from Monarch and working that stuff in.
Yeah.
So like the world's our oyster, like, and we can even go beyond the time period we're in, where like we can go in between those other movies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope so. I really, really hope so, because I think it's wonderful. They're clearly so passionate and so talented about telling the stories of these characters and building this idea that was such a cool, admittedly, but very vague concept in the Monsterverse before into something far more fleshed out and far more interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I retract my previous statement because I didn't know that bit.
Yeah, sure.
I just got a flashback to Watchmen when we didn't know if they were going to do another season. Then they're like, "Nah, one and done. We're fine."
Yeah, that's lightning in a bottle. I don't know if you can do that again. That's I bless him for trying, but Monarch can go on for forever.
No, with Monarch, I want them to keep going on. And I really hope this team can just still put the care, the love, the care, the attention to detail. Essentially, just they're putting all the right nuggets in.
Yeah.
They're putting all the right little nuggets into all the right little Easter eggs, like the Apex Easter egg. Or they're, of course, I would say this is still a right amount of Godzilla. I know Apple, if this is an Apple original, I can only imagine Apple's footing the bill for this, and we know how a lot of money that they got. I mean, shit, I'm wearing something above them on my watch.
On that thing with Apple, I promise you, the show would not be as good, look as good, or feel as concrete if this were on Netflix or Amazon. God, no. Or like Apple, really, like it is becoming like the premier.
Well, Amazon would have to be willing to foot up the kind of bill they put for Rings of Power, which they just wouldn't.
They would never do that again. That thing costs like $500 million. They're crazy.
Yeah.
But like, you're right. But Apple has the money to do this type of thing and allow the creators to do what they want.
Well, the point I was getting to was Apple has the money to make like blockbuster style giant monster fights like WWE SmackDown style, but instead they're opting to as little monsters as possible. I mean, we still get monsters, we still get the kaiju, but that's not the focus. And instead it's like, let's go with a character narrative driven story with major character development, with people going like not constantly changing their objectives, but there's growth, there's loss, there's emotion, there's all this stuff. We also have a period piece that's tied right into it with one of our main characters. And it's one of those things where it's like, but there's still monsters involved, but it's not the focal point. And they could have made this like the old Fox Kids Godzilla animated show where there was a monster of the week, and they didn't. And I'm actually really glad they didn't, because this is so much more interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And they've found a way to make it so that even if we're not seeing Titans, the presence of Titans and the possibility of their appearance feels constantly hanging over our characters, whether it's in the past or the present. Like we are aware of the Titans, we are aware of the pressure of their existence on these characters. And I think they've pulled that off really well, so that we can go a whole episode without seeing a Titan, and I still feel like I'm living in a world where this is the thing that's like really putting all this tension on all these people, is knowing that these Titans are out there. You
always feel it. Like, again, like you don't have to see a monster for a long time, but like everything these people are doing involves monsters. The organization's about monsters. Like these GD events feel like actual cataclysmic events that people are terrified of, and they never want to feel that again. Like it so well captures like living in an era where a giant monster can ruin your life at any moment. And it's awful and very interesting, and it's damn good.
Terrifying miracles.
Terrifying miracles. There you go.
Terrifying miracles.
I'm super excited. We'll be back one last time for this season. We're going to talk about episodes 9 and 10. And so we'll be wrapping out the season here on Fake Nerds Watch. Just what a wonderful treat. What a wonderful treasure we have with this show. I'm thrilled to have been here talking about it with you guys. I'm so glad that we have it.
Yeah.
I can't wait at the same time that I just want more, I also can't wait to see how they're going to wrap up the stories we have had so far this season, and what they're going to leave open-ended.
Yeah.
So until next time, go ahead and check out fakenerdpodcast.com. Follow us on our all socials, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Check out what we've got coming out. We have our 349th episode of the Fake Nerd Podcast up right now. You can go check that out. And we've got a lot of Scott Pilgrim stuff on the horizon. This week, you should already have out, as of the time of this release, Scott Pilgrim Cinephile and Scott Pilgrim Volumes 3 and 4 Book Club will both be out there. And in the near future, you're going to have Volumes 5 and 6 for that book club. And then finally, the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off show will be discussed by us.
Yep.
So look out for all of that to happen here on the channel. And some other stuff on the horizon, like Basement Arcade pause menus that still got to come out, Basement Arcades, all kinds of fun stuff. They'll be heading your way.
Oh, yeah.
Until then, Ben, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me showing off my little Godzilla 2016 ornament that I got after the movie came out. And there is a button here. I took the batteries out, but it does do like the thumb and the thumps and the roars and everything. So nice. Yeah, he's a desk toy. He's on my desk right now.
He's a little guy.
Yeah, just a little guy. But it's when Hallmark came out with that ornament, I was like, I need to have it. But anyways, yeah, you can find me geeking out about Godzilla at BenMagan27 at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. You can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com, as well as playing Mary Frankenstein in D & Dark.
Hell yeah, Ryan.
You can find me molting out of my shell because I'm a growing boy at DJ Tony Snark all over the internet.
And you can find me just being convinced that Godzilla is here to maintain the balance at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. And until we talk to you next time, stay fake nerds.